Hello, y'all. This is Darryl Jr. back with my Saturday stream. Let me adjust my camera here. So I'll be continuing with the Veritas today, and I'm actually in the Discord as well. So when you all join, if anybody wants to join the Discord, I actually have Brandon in here with me right now. So if anybody else wants to join the Discord, you can join at the link. Why don't I go ahead and post the link again? It's actually in the description as well. I'll make sure to add it to the description. So you can actually go to the description of the video, or I'll add another link momentarily as well, and you all can join. And first thing I'll do though, I'll actually show one of my images. I set a stream to go public not too long ago, and what I did was I didn't realize I had set the live little short that I made earlier today. It was set private, but I was out doing some stellar astronomy, and I went ahead and took some pictures of the sun, got some uh, stellar spectra, and I'll show y'all one of the pictures. Actually found a setting that allowed me to sharpen the image of the moon. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Rook Highness? And you could join the Discord, by the way, if you want as well, if you want to chat today. So Brandon's in here right now as well. I'll be playing the stream, and I'll finish my intro momentarily, Brian, and then I'll add you into the mix. Oh, awesome. Well, I'm actually on the Discord and on YouTube right now. So this is like my Saturday stream that I'm streaming. I'll be sort of critiquing a video by Veritas, but I'll start that momentarily. I'm gonna finish my intro in about 5 or so minutes. So, but yes, so I went out today. I was taking some solar spectra. What happened was I ended my so I had a French class, I had a math class. The French final exam was due on like the 7th of next month, of this month. I meant to say, they're already thinking it's still July. And the math project was due, I mean, I could have turned it in Sunday, but it was actually due yesterday. So I went ahead yesterday, all yesterday. I finished the French final exam, and I finished the math project study. I was able to be out there all day today doing stellar astronomy. It was hot out there, man. But because I was in the shade, I found a nice little spot right by my dorm. I got some good pictures and some good spectra. I was planning on going out there tomorrow, but I don't think we're gonna go. Today it was cloudy. I mean, it was thin enough to where I can get some good pictures of the sun. If I show enough of them, you'll see that a lot of them I was able to see. I had to get the sun through clouds as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sort of movie and see if I can see the movement of the sun. So give me a moment here. And there's the image right there. So what do you think, Agnes? And I see I enlarged the wrong thing. I hate when I do that. I enlarged the entire share window, I think. So now everything is large. Let me see if I can fix that. Oh, I forgot. It's because I put the thing on the other window. Oh, but I'll get it fixed. But that's an image of the sun though. So if you look at it, I'll zoom in a bit. You can see what the sunspots were looking like today. So that was pretty cool. Uh, so I took pictures over 4 hours. So what I'll do is see if I can identify some kind of rotation in the sun going on. But yeah, pretty good picture, right, Agnes? I'll see if I can crop it a bit more. Yeah. So yeah, pretty sharp, man. So I found the setting on my camera that I brought it to the highest level of sharpness. Actually have some images on my website, like several of them I took. Those my starter images where I was able to try to figure out the proper setting. Now let me go ahead and I'll zoom in on it a bit more so you can see what I mean. Like if you look at the spots there, I couldn't see it before, but you can see there's some sub sunspots, right? If you look really, close. Like there's, like the dark sunspot, but there's actually like I guess area around the sunspot that's not quite a sunspot, but is partially dim. And I'm certain that's a feature of the sun. It was just I was able to see that because I was able to zoom in on the sun a whole lot better. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm able to get some nice detail of the sun right there. And now every time I look at the sun, I think about Ross when I was talking to him, and he believed that the little light in a little jar was actually a star. You know, of course, these guys never did any astronomy in their life. So, and I asked him to confirm that he never even looked through anything through a telescope, so they have no idea what they're talking about. So to them, a star is a like a little point in the sky. So that's what anything that's a point is a star. A point of light is a star. So the little light in the jar is a star. It's craziness. So but that's a picture. That's what the sun looked like today. I took some spectra of it as well. So in my modern physics lab, I uh my professor let me borrow his own uh, uh, spectroscopy device, and I was able to use that to get some spectra of the sun. What I plan on doing tomorrow is processing that. So I was going to go out tomorrow again and get another day of data, but like I said, it's supposed to be even hotter tomorrow, less shade. So no, I'm not going to go out tomorrow. Maybe I just got to get used to it. I'll be glad when it cools down a bit. Because when I first started doing this, it was like wintertime. Like the ones on my website is from like January. So it was a lot cooler. I'm in. But matter of fact, it was so hot, Agnes, that on the camera, when I'm looking at the sun through the camera, you could actually see, like when I zoom in on the edge of the sun, you could see the waviness of the air. Like it looks like there's a slight waviness. Of course, when you take a picture, when you actually take the still of it, I mean, you can't really see it because it's at the speed of light. But when you're looking at the actual image go by at so many frames per second, like 30 frames per second, you can see the waviness. It's pretty cool. How the air, and I guess you could even see it a little bit. You can see the discontinuity. It's not as sharp as in the wintertime. So there you go. That's what the sun looked like today. So it's pretty cool. So I had fun. I was like reading a novel while I was. Uh, I went ahead and just started taking pictures while I was reading the novel. I thought just get the extra data. So it looks like our join uh looks like he dropped. So it looks like it'll be to the normal format again. But if anybody wants to join, you can go ahead and join it again. And what I'll do, here's the vid here, and I'm still getting used to this program. So actually, messed up the size of things. Sometimes I mean to resize one thing and I resize everything. We'll see what the rest of this thing is talking about. And I have the Discord in the back. So if anybody joins up in the Discord, I'll just go like that and we can chat a bit. And what I may do is just change where I'm sharing it at and go back to sharing it in the Discord, which maybe I can do now anyway. Guess it doesn't really matter. So maybe I can do both. How would that work? So put the uh, video up there and share the video through OBS, and in Discord share the screen as well. Let's see how that works. Boom. And yeah, I'm gonna have to work that out some different kind of way. So we'll make it work. But awesome. Here we go. Now, as a reminder of where we were last time, we had just finished watching the part where they had the model that the flat earthers used to ironically try to support flat earth when the person who made this model made it to show that it doesn't work in reality. Uh, I, if any of you saw that talk I had with that Discord server that I don't go to anymore, one of the guys was saying, "Aha, we didn't give you the model, so you didn't actually do all this calculation stuff." So it's ironic that when they want to deny observations we have, then they want to jump to what people said. Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson said you can't see the curve from this high. But then when they want to avoid the evidence, they want to go to a model, they'll use this, even though the person who made the model says it doesn't work. But then he says, well, we didn't give you you have to go to the little model and use all the different crazy stuff that we say has to be there, even though it's not there, we will observe it. So I notice they want to say, no, you have to do a model, get what you observe, when they don't want to accept what you observe. But then when you point out a fact in science and well, what do your sensors tell you? And of course they just, you know, put their eye to the earth like this and said it looks flat, they don't actually go high enough to, even though Rob Skiba did. He sent that balloon up. And you can check my channel. I have a video called uh, Rob Skiba's Proofs of the Globe. It's pretty telling. I believe if he would have stayed alive, he would have recognized that the Earth is a globe. Right. So let's go to the next section of this video and see what they're talking about next. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I saw it. Hold up. Let's see what. Oh, I have to change my headset. Hold up here. The sound. Voila.
Fascinating, to say the least. What we end up seeing is that flat earthers can't stop at merely rejecting our models, but because these models are infinitely better at accurately representing reality than anything they can come up with, they're very often forced to outright reject reality.
So anyway, you guys, this is what us globe people believe Australia looks like. And then here is what the flat earth map says Australia looks like. So right off the bat, just from a simple logic standpoint, we should know that both of these cannot be right. They're drastically different.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Real Cognitive says, I just dealt with Shane saying Gilgit earlier on Res Rhetoric. His confidence lately in his word salad rivals that of even Witsit. Real Cognitive, uh, uh, Shane is the one who was in Discord during my debate when we crushed Toby and Allen. When me and Tony crushed Toby and Allen, he was in the Discord channel encouraging them to focus on making Tony upset. So the first thing is, if the flat earthers were any kind of honest or sincere, they would immediately dismiss anything Shane says because he was being dishonest, right? So you familiar with Witsit? Witsit was making a big deal of how they updated the size of the shadow of the eclipse by a few miles, right? But Shane was making a whole entire thing trying to make them upset instead of make us upset instead of dealing with the evidence. That's dishonest and manipulative. If there was any kind of honest, they would just dismiss anything you see off the bat. But of course, they have the double standard where flat earthers can lie and deceive, and apparently is a good thing when they do it because they're right, I guess. But even when scientists make an improvement to data, or they changed it, oh my gosh, it's so bad. So, so this was on Res Rhetoric's channel, like he was like in his um, hangout or Zoom or whatever, or was it on like a Discord? Where was this at? And it's good to see Res Rhetoric getting back into it. By the way, he's Res Rhetoric. I mean, he gets into it. I mean, he gets the pictures of the launches of SpaceX. I believe did he measure the yeah, it was him and somebody else. They measured the distance and speed of the ISS. I mean, he gets into it. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad Rez is getting into it, man. I'm glad he's getting his channel going again. Because it seemed like it could have been just me because I'm in school and sometimes I miss a lot of things. Even I'm gonna be more consistent going forward. But I'm better. I've had a better handle on everything now. It's my third year, my last year. But the first year, I was like, I have to just focus on it. So, maybe it was just me. I just missed them. But it seemed like Reds was not streaming for a while. Awesome. Yeah, that's right. That must be the other guy, Astronomy Live, the one he did the ISS with. That's amazing work. The triangulation. But of course, flat earthers, they just deny it. I remember Red's rhetoric. I'll never forget. It was such a great example of the double standard and the delusion of the flat earth believers. Like Red's rhetoric, he had a picture of something. It was the ISS, probably was the ISS. And he's saying, look, I took this myself. The ISS is there. And this is how high it is. This is what we did. And the guy kept wanting to talk about NASA. And Reyes was like, no, no, I'm not talking about NASA. I'm talking about I did this. Well, NASA lies. No, no, I'm talking about what I did. No, no, that NASA lies. So it's like these people have some kind of reporting that they just, ironically, they say we're indoctrinated when we actually learn and do experiments and test things and validate things, and the world and all of our technology is based upon our understanding. So it's obviously reality. They say we are just indoctrinated when they just look at the latest meme or hear the latest phrase to repeat from their Papa Flurf, as MC Toon calls it. And they just repeat it. They just go to it over and over without apparently even thinking. Awesome. Well, I guess I didn't just miss him then. So that's good. Glad he's back. So I'll keep an eye out for him. He definitely does some good work. So yeah, I would love to get my hands on Wissett in the debate, but I doubt he's going to do it because he saw what I did to Toby and Allen. I'll be even harder on him because he's such a doofus. He's so wrong about so many things. It's almost like uh, it's like so many stuff to choose that he's wrong about. I believe he knows. He's one of the people that I think, to some extent, knows he's lying. I mean, definitely, if you look at MC Toon's channel, he has documented cases of him lying. So people like Ross that I talk to, he just seems just ignorant and just deluded, but he really believes what he's saying. To some extent, it seems like Whitsitt knows he's lying, or at least about some things. Of course, some things he's probably just deluded as everybody else, but other times it seems like like when he said, like we brought up in this, we will eventually get to it, when he said he has a model that could predict the location of eclipses, a flat Earth model, but never presents it, just runs from it. But we'll get to that. It's up in this video.
Yeah, they're just a concept.
I want you to take a look at the drastic difference that the globe people believe is the shape of Australia and the flat earth people believe is the shape of Australia. So my question for you, Austin, is which one of these do you think best represents the actual size of Australia?
Great question, man. I don't know. Like I would say maybe somewhere in the middle. What about that? Because my answer remains the same here. This is just a concept. It's a construct. We weren't even allowed to make but one type of map. You can't even freely and privately explore the Earth.
The fact of the matter is that we know.
So Australia is a real country, you know. They can make conspiracy nonsense about Antarctica, you know, because it's such an inhospitable place that even if somebody wanted to, it's extremely hard to, uh, just like people can't even scale Mount the Everest properly. People die on Mount Everest, and it's just when I say just a mountain, I mean compared to Antarctica, it's just a mountain. I mean, it's just a mountain overseas somewhere. But Antarctica is like an entire continent of just bad, just bad. So so they can go to this conspiracy stuff with that and easily dupe their flat Earth cohorts. But Australia, people live in Australia, and I think that's what he's showing here. Matter of fact, if you go to something Tony often brings up, PhD Tony, he often brings up the train routes through like places like Australia and comparing. He compared the distance of a train route or a plane route or boat across Australia and the southern hemisphere to one across like America or Europe, somewhere of similar latitude in the northern hemisphere, and show that the distances match. It doesn't fit a flat Earth. So the fact that Witsit will sit there and say, "Oh my gosh, it's just a concept and they don't let us explore," he's not talking about Antarctica, and that might be why and who is this? Will Duffy. That's probably why Will Duffy went to Australia, because if you go to Antarctica, then they can get away more easily. But if you go to Australia, people live all over Australia. We know how big Australia is. We know how far it is across Australia. We know how long it is up and down Australia. So, so we know it's not in the middle, like you said. We know it's not like the thing on the right. We know that this is how Australia is shaped. It's not just a concept. And look at his face. It seems like he knows he's got his had, and he's just lying. But because it seems like most of the flat earthers are just stupid, and they just fall for that. They are unwilling or unable to think. So Richard just says, "Oh, it's just a concept. Oh, it's just a concept," and that's it. They just run with it, and they just can't get beyond that. The Tiger says, "No doubt the best part of the Veritas bid is like 3/4 through. Reds and jam truth. It's epic. The whole thing is funny. Though on my third pass now, I've been in this flat earth thing for so long, it's not just, oh, yeah, it is nostalgic. And the ironic thing is, uh, I mean, I guess they're coming up with some new stuff now. They're trying to say gravity is electric. I guess that's a new one, but most of the stuff seems to be the same old, same old. Like they're still coming up with the black swan, even though it's been debunked. Um, but I guess they have to go to these uh, uh, more ephemeral, ironically, more ephemeral things. He's trying to see an actual map that fits what we know the shape of Australia is, because we have plane routes and train routes and people drive across Australia, so we know that's accurate. Yet he's lying, whether intentionally or ignorantly, and calling it a concept when all this electrostatic and stuff, they have no technology based upon it. Yeah, it's just nonsense. Who was it? Damn it, who was getting was Professor Dave. He was saying why, he would just Witsit wants to go on about these little styrofoam things he was levitating or whatever. And Professor Dave was like, of course you can do it with small stuff, because it's small stuff that if you put an electrostatic charge on it, it could be enough to overpower gravity. Why can't you do it with a car or a truck or a building? If what he's saying is true, then it will work with everything. Because we know everything falls at 9.8 meters per second squared. It's not just only metals or only styrofoam. Everything does. So the fact that they can't make some kind of technology where they can, change the electric field around something and then just levitate everything, obviously is not a workable thing. But again, flat earthers, most of them are stupid. Some of them are just ignorant, like the ones that come out of flat earth. Once they get enough information, uh, then they come out of it. Like Seek Truth, Speak Truth, or Ranty, or Raichi 0000. Those are a few that come to mind who, once they got enough information, and I was like, oh, this is nonsense, right? But it seems like most of them, they're just dumb. They can't process the information. They don't know the math or the science to even understand it anyway. Like I showed with my debate with Toby and Alvin, those guys have no clue. They just learn buzzwords that sound good to the ignorant flat earth people and just spot it off. But if you try to get even a surface level depth, other than their past a little word salad, they fall apart. Like I showed in my debate. Sure you saw it.
The flat Earth people believe is the shape of Australia. So my question for you, Austin.
Say this again.
Great question, man. I don't know. Like I would say maybe somewhere in the middle. What about that? Because my answer remains the same here. This is just a concept. It's a construct. We weren't even allowed to make but one type of map. You can't even freely and privately explore the Earth.
The fact of the matter.
That reminds me, by the way, I'm glad I heard that again. in my debate with Tory and Allen, one of them, I don't remember which, but the dirt was almost equal between them. It talked about math we were allowed to learn. You know, probably like I was beating them up so bad about that they have no clue about even the fundamental math of these papers. They claim they understand so well that they debunk the experts. Apparently, that's the delusion they have. But they don't understand even the basic math. One of them said made some complaint about math we were allowed to learn. So it seems like there's a go-to. I'm starting to recognize where rather than just acknowledge their ignorance, they just it's a conspiracy. Now we're not allowed to travel Australia even. It's not allowed to do it. And we're not allowed to make so many kind of maps. We can only make one kind of map because it's a conspiracy. Uh, even though anybody, if they wanted to, can go and just drive around and make maps. I mean, it's amazing.
Is that we know the distances from coast to coast, both north to south and east to west in Australia. Anybody can pull up a map, hop in their car, and make the drive. There's no shortage of flat earthers that live in Australia. It would be trivial for any of them to do this themselves to debunk the globe. The idea that we're not allowed to freely explore the Earth, as if somebody would prevent you from making these coast-to-coast drives, is absolutely bonkers. It's straight up nonsense, just like pretending that we don't know the actual distances between these major cities. You can pretend like the globe is merely an abstract concept all you want, but if the globe model tells us exactly how far these cities are, and those predictions correspond with reality, then you've surely got some explaining to do if you're a flat earther.
I mean, actually, when they traveled in the south back in
can pretend like the globe is merely an abstract concept all you want, but if the globe model tells us exactly how far these cities are, and those predictions correspond with reality, then you've surely got some explaining to do if you're a flat earther.
I mean, actually,
so points like that they make really, it's something to think about how they can come to these conclusions. They try to, what's there is now, there's only a concept, there's only a model, denying the fact that the validity of the model is the fact that it represents reality. Like the model is made to represent reality. So then we can test the model to see if our understanding of reality is correct. Like, you know, if I uh, 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 model a house that's so many feet wide and I build a house to that specification, and then I measure the house and it's that wide, then the model, then it's an accurate representation of what we made. Sure, of course, I did it backwards in that way because the model made the house. At least we made the house based off the model. But the Earth was already here. You know, the continents were already here. So just like how we can take a model of a house, like the blueprints, and build a house, and the house matches that because the house is made off the blueprints. We look at the world and make a model off our observations of the world. So then we can say, well, this is how we think the sun works. This is how we think this works. This is how far we measured Australia to be, how wide we measured it to be. Uh, then, you know, we use that and send a plane up and we track its trajectory and all this stuff. And it gets to its destination in the proper amount of time with the proper amount of fuel. Then we know that it works. And of course, you know, train is actually on the ground in contact with the ground the whole way, you know, despite the fact that, you know, there's maybe some hills and dips along the way, but still, that could be accounted for with the length of the track. We know that the train has to travel this far to get places. So things like maps become even, I mean, it's hard to even call it a model in a sense. I mean, it's a direct representation to scale of the Earth. You know, the only thing that makes it a model in a sense is when you have to adjust it to make it flat. But if you get a globe, a high quality globe, which I have, is at my sister's house. Um, it's a direct representation of the Earth. I mean, if you measure, let's say, you know, United States to be, you know, 5 inches wide, and in real life, Australia is this fraction of United States. Well, when you measure the Australia on the map, it'll be that fraction of inches, right? Just like if you were to drive across Australia, the miles would match. So the fact that Whitsitt would say that if the flat earthers were either honest or intelligent, they would immediately discount anything Whitsitt says and stop following him off the bat. But that's just such a stupid thing to say, a stupid thing to believe. And Cognitive said they deny the usefulness of models, which is perhaps why they don't even have one. There's misconceptions. And I'll go even farther, real Cognists. They do deny the usefulness of models when that model proves them wrong, right? Because again, going back to this, even Whitsitt will bring this thing right here up. And when I was talking to that, and I was saying, look, I measured the circumference of the Earth when I redid the Eratosthenes experiment. So I measured the circumference of the Earth, and one of the flat earthers was like, "Oh, you was using you was taking shadows of the light. It deals with light, and because what happened is I also calculated it for a flat Earth and showed that the sun would have to be at different heights, which is that doesn't make any sense." And one of them said, well, you say you measured it, you calculated it over a flat Earth, but you didn't use the model we have. Did you use?" And he started going into whatever Bergerers they have that they can't really explain, azimuthal grid of vision or whatever. So at that moment, when my direct observation showed them wrong, then he wanted to go to the model, and he started referring to this thing right here. Like I forget the exact word he used, but this was first I said this already been debunked, right? Because uh, globe face showed how the light has to bend at like a 90-degree angle to even meet our eyes at the proper angle, right? And I told him, so now you want to go to what you said is when I actually observe things in real life, we know how light works. So now he's wanting me to disregard my direct observations and instead go off of calculations and stuff that he can't give me because he doesn't have, which he acknowledged. He said, well, we don't have a model, so you can't really calculate the stuff. Well, we see where the sun is. We know how light works. We have cameras. We have lasers. We know how light works. Y'all may be ignorant and stupid and don't know how light works and want to claim that there's some azimuth and all this other stuff. But we actually know how light works because we have technology like you can see me right now because the camera is built off the principles of optics and our understanding of light, which is what I told him. I have enough time, enough hours spent in laboratories. We have a basic understanding how light works, and I'm not going to base it on your nonsense when I have a first-hand understanding of how light works. And when I see the sun there, that's where the sun is. And the earth was flat. This is what we will be, and it doesn't work. So yeah, man. So they do deny models when it shows them to be wrong. But of course, they'll try to run to any nonsense model if they think it's going to prove them right, like that little Bisping thing right there. So you can't put a finger on them because they're so dishonest. They just change back and forth, whatever they think is going to make them seem right in the moment. They're too dishonest and too delusional to stick to a point, and just because then they'll have to just admit they're wrong if they stuck to a point.
Actually, when they traveled in the South back in the day, assuming a sphere, they consistently got lost. So what did? They had to start sending out magnetic declination surveys.
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot
and trying to correct and correct and correct to try to get it to match the globe. That's why when you go in the South, you're just navigating with corrections.
Model us exactly how far these cities are, and those predictions correspond with reality, then you've surely got some explaining to do if you're a flat earther.
I mean, actually, when they traveled in the South back in the day, assuming a sphere, they consistently got lost. So what did? They had to start sending out magnetic declination surveys and trying to correct and correct and correct to try to get it to match the globe. That's why when you go in the South, you're just navigating with corrections. So when people actually went to the South, when these maps were first being put together, it didn't work. We had to make gross corrections to them. So that's the unspoken truth here.
This is just more nonsense to distract from the main point being discussed here. Magnetic declination isn't a topic that I really want to get into in any detail, but in a nutshell, what he's referring to has to do with adjustments that need to be made to magnetic compass readings while navigating, which actually has
magnetic declination. Magnetic declination, sometimes called magnetic variation, is the angle between magnetic north. Declination is positive when this angle is east of true north and negative when it is west. Magnetic declination changes over time and with location. Declination value is needed to determine true north because compasses point towards magnetic north. And Tanya said, and I'm glad you agree, by the way, with that assessment there. He says, how right. And Real Cognitus says, it's true that navigation via compass alone was problematic before declination mapping, but not only on this in the south. Yeah, so it's a common thing with flat earthers where um, here's an example that comes to mind. There was, I mean, perhaps it's partly the fault of the article writers that try to be sensational, and they made this article talking about the moon being in Earth's gravity, not Earth's gravity, Earth's atmosphere. Maybe I can pull that up really fast because I think it's quite instructional. And I think it illustrates this point, and the point that you're making, how they declination mapping was not only in the south. In other words, it's not the problem that they say it is, right? So moon in Earth's. So it should be pretty easy to find. Uh, 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 well, I can't find the exact one that has the sort of deceptive type title, but I'll go to the space.com one here. So it says, surprise, Earth's atmosphere extends so far beyond the moon. So maybe they adjusted it since then. Tiny wisps of Earth's air stretch out way into deep space, far beyond the moon's orbit. So tiny wisps of air. And it says, I remember I saw one of them that had, here we go. But dense is a relative term. There are just about 70 hydrogen atoms per cubic centimeter at an altitude of 37,000 miles on the day side, and a mere zero point 0.2 atoms per cubic centimeter at the moon's distance, right? So basically, 37,000 miles, which I don't have a good sense of how far that is away, but I guess Earth is what? The circumference is what, 24,000 miles? So I guess if you was to take the Earth and if you was to make it like a straight line and that length and a half, so I guess basically going around the Earth 1.5 times, that far away is about 70 hydrogen atoms per cubic centimeter. It's not a lot. But at the moon, it's only zero point 0.2 atoms per cubic centimeter. So you need what? Like five? How many cubic centimeters would that be? Like 25 cubic centimeters to get 5 atoms? I'm not able to do that math right there on the fly in my head. The cubic thing always gets me. But this is what it's saying. Like there's a very, very thin uh, 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 expanse of hydrogen atoms that extend from the Earth farther than the moon. But I was talking to this flat earther one time, and you know how they try to do their little gotcha questions. And he asked, "Well, is the moon in Earth's atmosphere?" And of course, the way he said it is the moon and Earth's atmosphere. You think like what airplanes? And of course, some people, if I just believe that, they believe that the sun is like, and the Earth is like, excuse me, the sun and the moon is like hovering around and go through the clouds. I'm sure you've seen their memes that say that. Like, look at the sun is inside the clouds or whatever. I said, no, the moon is not in the Earth's atmosphere. And he was like, aha, scientists say it is, you know. And of course, I found the article, and this is what it's saying, right? So it just shows the dishonesty of the flat earthers that they word it that way, when in truth, it's saying like fractions of atoms, literally. So when you point out how the declination is not the extent that he says, that's what flat earthers do. And Rakage says, yeah, I remember when they first mentioned that NASA got you. Yeah, exactly. So it's sad, man. It's sad that they don't recognize this. Um, it's amazing, especially when they say, ironically, if you look at the flat earthers, they do and fall for pretty much every single thing they say we fall for, right? They fall for lies. They just falling for being deceived. They just believe whatever they're told. Uh, uh, it's crazy. Oh, and one more, and I'll read this one more paragraph on this. It says, you can compute the true bearing from a magnetic bearing. Let me actually maximize this. You can compute the true bearing from a magnetic bearing by adding the magnetic declination to the magnetic bearing. This works as long as you follow the convention that degrees west are negative and degrees, of course, east are positive. And some examples are given. For example, a magnetic declination of 10 degrees west is negative 10, and bearing of 45 degrees west is negative 45. So I guess that's just a way to find out the actual north as far as the axis of rotation of the Earth, given that the magnetic north does not point directly to it, so that you can orient yourself properly to the true north. That's pretty cool. Let me check again and see what he said about it. No, I guess I backed up to the commercial point. True, another commercial.
Declination surveys
are, and those predictions correspond with reality, then you've surely got some explaining to do if you're a flat earther.
I mean, actually, when they traveled in the South back in the day, assuming a sphere, they consistently got lost. So what did they do? They had to start sending out magnetic declination surveys and trying to correct and correct and correct to try to get it to match the globe. That's why when you go in the South, you're just navigating with corrections. So when people actually went to the South, when these maps were first being put together, it didn't work. We had to make gross corrections to them. So that's the unspoken truth here.
This is just more nonsense to distract from the main point being discussed here. Magnetic declination isn't
the south is at any both north and south because the compass doesn't point directly to the north pole or the south pole.
Topic that I really want to get into in any detail, but in a nutshell, what he's referring to has to do with adjustments that need to be made to magnetic compass readings while navigating, which actually has nothing to do with the geometry of the land masses or the maps at all. If the map tells you to go due north and your compass is off by some amount because of the difference between magnetic north and geographic north, that doesn't mean that the map is wrong. He's purposefully
I really believe, Real Kindness, that he does that knowingly as a deception because he knows he knows he doesn't have an answer, but he still needs to go on. But he just said something. I remember he was debating Flat Earth Tony, PhD Tony, it was a Flat Earth debate. And Tony called him out on it. He was like, you're clearly just lying. I don't remember what point it was that Tony brought up, but Tony brought up something, and Richard just rambled off something. He was like, clearly you're lying. We could see you're lying. And I think Richard just laughed and just kept going. But the flat earthers, they fall for that stuff. I learned that the hard way. That's why I spent so much time pointing out how ignorant and stupid, really, Toby and Alvin was. Because when I was debating Wotan, I was proving him wrong, and he would just change the subject or lie and say he didn't make that point. And I was thinking, it's pretty clear this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But then when I read the chat later, flat earthers were like, man, he whooped Darryl. And I'm like, what? These people couldn't even see this guy was clueless. They couldn't even see I proved them wrong. And then the guy lied about what he said. So flat earthers fall for that, man. So, yeah, he says Wizard is a natural born deceiver. Certainly seems that way, man. Seems like he's like made for it. That's what he does. Some people are like that.
representing the implications of magnetic declination to divert the conversation away from where it's clearly going, because he's simply too afraid to have to answer extremely basic questions about his model of the Earth, which passes.
And yeah, his guy is on it, man. He calls it out, right? I said pretty much the same thing. And so I think this is a very good documentary.
Mr. Will Duffy attempts to do, asking for his explanation for the fact that the distances in duration of north to south and west to east flights are within 15% or less of each other, which makes perfect sense on a globe with Australia the size that our maps dictate, while making absolutely no sense on any of the flat Earth maps that show Australia as a hot dog instead of a hamburger.
So are you suggesting it should be grossly different if the Earth is flat? What exactly is your argument? The fact that they're 8 minutes apart, assuming a globe distance to get an assumed speed.
Here would be the flight paths on the Gleason map. And by the way, the Gleason map is the only flat Earth map I could find on the entire internet that actually has the names of cities on it, which is bizarre to me. And if you look, this flight right here.
Good point. He said the Gleason map is the only flat Earth map he could find that has the names of cities on it. So in other words, Earth is claiming that the Earth is flat, but they can't even produce the map with the actual names of cities, so we can then verify the distances between cities. And of course, Austin will say, like he said earlier, oh, it's some kind of conspiracy. In other words, we're not allowed to travel the Earth and map it, which is, of course, just nonsense. Like I said, that's probably why they, like I said, talk about Antarctica so much. When you talk about uh, Australia, the routes through Australia that people travel regularly, even if somebody doesn't travel the whole thing every day, there's somebody, people going back and forth to work, so on and so forth. Anybody can travel these roads if they wanted to.
The fact that they're 8 minutes apart, assuming a globe.
And Kynes says, no point talking to flat Earth leaders who believers have a chance, however small. That's a good point. Because like you said, I mean, like, do you know Ransom? Was he a flat Earth leader? I guess like, when I first became aware of the flat Earth people, I think Ranty had just gotten out or was just about to get out. So I guess I never really knew him as a flat earther, really. As a matter of fact, I talked to him once when he was a flat earther. When he was a flat earther, I talked to him once. And I actually asked him about that conversation afterwards. But I believe that conversation is still on his channel. If you go to the panel I did a few years ago, so many years ago. But would you say, by the way, real cognizant that Ranty was a leader flat earther, or he was just? Because definitely, people often refer to Austin. People often refer to DITRH. Uh, now, I mean, I'm sure some looked up to him, but he wasn't trying to deceive. I don't think. Yeah, he was just, some people just make videos. They're not like, yeah, I never really seen him in the debates and stuff like Witz it is, and trying to get followers everywhere. So, like you said, he was just a true believer, and but he got us some information. Um, I guess the leaders right now are Austin, DITRH. It was Rob Skiba, but he died. But but he has some awesome proof of the globe, ironically. Um, and wasn't Bob Nodell? Wasn't he a leader? He's dead as well, interestingly enough, right? But I heard that, if I remember right, Skiba died from COVID, which he said was a hoax. I don't know how Bob Nodell died. And ironically, both of them have proof of the globe. I rather believe if Skiba would have been alive, he would have gotten out of it, just like Rancy and him. But like I said, Austin is one of at least as far as the flat earthers is concerned that I talked to, one of the actual leaders. Uh, uh, Riley used to be one as well. He's one of the people who I was referred to talk to. So yeah, and can you believe somebody bought a $15,000, $20,000 uh what was that thing called? Um, I remember. You probably remember the name of that device that they use to measure the rotation of the Earth. It's just like this trip to Antarctica that's coming up. Never spend money to send an idiot or a liar on a trip. I mean, I think it'd be better for them to use that money to go like, I don't know, send a scientist there to do some valid research or something. I mean, why would you spend money oh yeah, a ring laser gyroscope, thanks. I can't believe somebody paid $15,000 or $20,000. And I mean, good on him. He shared the data. He didn't hide it, which he could have easily done. Um, just like Rob Skiba, he shared that his balloon showed the Earth to be a globe. He shared when he modeled the actual distance between the Earth and the moon. he shared that the images that we have from space of the moon and the Earth, the ratios, the sizes are accurate. He could have hit that. So, but the point is, I can't believe that they even bought that for Bob Nodell in the first place. But he said it was a flat Earth supporter, so I guess it was somebody who's actually believes the Earth is flat. How does even somebody so dumb get a hold of so much money? I mean, it just shows how you know I don't know a good word for it. We made a society to where it's easy for. I mean, these people would have been dead hundreds of years ago. They'd have like walked off a cliff or something by now, or pet a bear or something. They would all be dead. But now they're flat earthers. Right? But when any physicist or engineer or pilot could have just told him the answer. That's true. That's a good point. But of course, all the physicists and engineers are liars. It's amazing, man. And here's another thing, by the way. Here's another thing about that real kindness. They spent thousands of dollars to get this device. And like you said, the physicists and engineers and pilots could have told them the answer. But who made the device? Who made the device? Right? So obviously, and he got the device. I mean, I saw the clip in this video, by the way. He tested it. He knows when he moved it, it registered the movement, so he know it was doing what it was doing. But the same scientists who make that device made the satellites that take pictures of the Earth. Yet they say the satellites are a lie. They say the satellites are a conspiracy, but they acknowledge that the gyroscope works. It's craziness. Exactly. The lying engineers made it. So why would you use it in the first place or accept it in the first place? But again, he was able to use it and test it to see it works. But then you have some explaining to do. Just like how that gyroscope works under the same scientific principles that satellite works. So you should accept the pictures from the satellites that we can see. You know, we can see the ISS. We know it's there. I think part of the reason why I am interested in keeping up with the flat Earth thing is it just reminds me how blessed I am to have a sane mind. I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to be these people and believe and think this way. I mean, it must be like being in some kind of prison that you don't know that you're in. You know what I mean? It's like the Matrix, ironically. They try to say we're asleep, but it's like they're trapped in the Matrix or something. And Kanye said, indeed, it's a psychology thing more than anything else. I agree. Because I was going to be a psychologist, but it's been taken over by all this gender ideology and critical race theory stuff. So I didn't want to deal with that. So, but I still have an interest in psychology. But if I did continue with it, probably would have did a study on the flat earthers. Just like how now I'm studying the sun and for my astronomy thing. But if I was in psychology, it would be a case study or a series of case studies on these people. But awesome. I was about up. Thanks for joining Real Kindness. It was good having you. And I'll be back again next week. Maybe look at this some more, or maybe look at that Grayson thing. Uh, uh, I love hearing Grayson talk about science, but man, it's like it's like it's like fingernails on a chalkboard, hearing the dirt and the stupidity come out of Iron Horse's mouth. Man, but we'll get through it and get some more derp in. And let me show my sun picture again one more time before I go. By the way, I'm actually proud of my sun pictures. It took me a while to figure out how to get good pictures of them. So I'll show this while I'm on the way out. Uh, yeah, Grayson is pretty good, man. He's knowledgeable and he's very polite too. I don't know how polite I was. I guess I'm polite. I mean, I'm definitely not rude. But yeah, man, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He knows his stuff, man. I learned some stuff from him already in his talk. But that's the sun today. Pretty active. Nice sunspots. I mean, it's going to take some time to go through the images. I'm gonna make a movie out of the images and see if I can determine the spin of the Earth. I took 4 hours worth of images. I guess I took pictures every, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes for 4 hours today. So I have like hundreds of images, and I'm going to make a movie, and we'll see how that looks. But also, man, thanks again for joining. It was good talking to you. I'll look for you next time. I'll be back next week because I finished those 2 classes. I might even be in drop during the week as well, but I'll definitely be here next Saturday. And I'll see y'all next time.